Business Weekly, brought to you by KCB. KCB, making the difference.
Ahead on this week's edition, we focus on devolution and is Kenya ready for it? We also feature how entrepreneurs in the tourism industry in Kisumu are turning the challenges of the water hyacinth into opportunities. That and the Investor's Diary. Good evening and welcome to this edition of KTN Business Weekly. I'm Michael Oyer. We're taking your questions and comments on the SMS number 8041 or email address ktnbizweekly@standardmedia.co.ke. Do tell us what features you would like to see again as we come to the end of the year, or the entrepreneur you'd like us to invite to the studio. The coming into effect of the new constitution has presented various opportunities, key among them ensuring equitable distribution of development in the country through devolved governance and economic units. This will ensure that each of the 47 counties take charge of their own development agenda with little influence from the national government. However, the preparedness of the counties to deal with these opportunities still remains a concern. For example, how will their plans merge with the national development agenda, and has enough been done to build capacity?
As part of efforts to ensure equitable distribution of resources, Kenyans passed into law a constitution that provides for the creation of 47 counties in an effort to evenly distribute and create wealth in each of these economic and administrative units.
Rayman's point of view, the devolution is basically taking the services to the people, and the services to be taken to the people is basically what the people are identifying as key to them. The major ones being agriculture, being health, being water, being trade and development, electricity, and forest management.
The concept of devolution of government has been adopted the world over as an international best practice in pursuit of economic development by allowing proximate access to services and the equitable sharing of national and local resources, coupled by general accountability.
Where we are saying you have the right to set your own priorities. And the idea is if priorities are set, if these priorities are set at the local level, then they are likely to be closer to the needs of the people.
With services closer to the people, the cost of setting up and doing business is set to significantly reduce upon the elimination of cumbersome bureaucratic procedures involved, especially in the area of regulation. Unwieldy procurement procedures remain the biggest hurdle to timely execution of development projects, with about 140 billion shillings expected to return to Treasury unspent. However, this will be a challenge various committees managing the counties will have to contend with.
Within what we call the ordinary trade, the simple SMEs, the simple medium term, what we call hawking in today's language, all those type of businesses have been taken down to the county level. And the county has been given the mandate to regulate them and indirectly to issue the licenses.
We don't want a situation where one county has very high quality roads and another one has got very low quality roads because we have no standards at all at a national level. We don't want a situation where certain counties have got a certain caliber of hospitals which is high and others don't. So the national policy and guideline will set minimum limits of service levels at a policy and standards level. However, in terms of the service provision, it will remain with the counties.
There are some basic standards that are expected which can be communicated to other counties. Now, what the Constitution does is to allow the national registration to be used by counties as and when there is cooperation which is required.
Although the Constitution is explicit on the role and functions of county governments, there remain some grey areas, especially in regard to marrying the counties' respective independent plans to the national blueprint of Vision 2030.
We're going to have the overall Vision 2030 plan for the entire nation. Each county will interpret for themselves because they have their own elected governor, their own county assemblies, and each governor will have his own mandate. from his own people, his or her own people. And therefore, they will determine for themselves the path under Vision 2030 that they want to take as a county.
Within the policy framework of government, what we call the economic policy of the country, that one remains at the national level. And the way the constitution is structured is basically to allow the national government to do policy and to allow the county government to do more of the implementing of the policy.
So the way to do it really is to have the autonomy existing, but the governors meeting once in a while under the chairmanship perhaps of the president or the deputy president, and checking to see, are we still as a country progressing under Vision 2030?
Financing of county governments will be directed by the National Revenue Allocation Commission. However, Article 203 in the 12th chapter of the Constitution stipulates that 15% of revenue will be allocated to county governments in a formula to be determined by the Senate.
There is a constitutional responsibility to make sure that 15% of the total audited revenue collection goes back to counties. So 15% of what we collected, say last year, would have been 15% of about 600 billion, because that's what KRA was able to collect. So 15% of 600 billion would have gone back.
Kenya's devolution plans also allow for an equalization fund set for marginalized counties.
It is important that there is no gap between the transfer of service provision by the national government to the local government, to the county government. So if hospitals are being transferred from the national government to the county governor and this county assembly, there must be no break in terms of service delivery.
Last year's budget saw 30% allocated to development projects, while the lion's share went to recurrent expenditure, a trend likely to hurt the economy since it exposes it to inflationary pressures and a weakening of the shilling as recently experienced. Here, county governments will have to shift focus to priority development projects at the expense of administrative costs. However, the Vision 2030 Director General insists on the need to first build capacity.
Building of the capacity to run these institutions is critical and is urgent. Number two, the mindset. It is important that people have the mindset that now that we have our own county, what can we produce? What can we deliver? Not merely what can we get from the national government, because this 15% has got to be coming from somewhere.
The concept of devolution is not new to Kenya, as has been practiced in one form or the other by way of either local authorities or the Constituency Development Fund. So what makes it so special this time round?
Devolution as we know it is not what we are talking about in the new Kenya. The country that we are going to enter is a country where the governor is the equivalent of indirectly a president. So you have actual powers as opposed to the today where each of the local authority has to refer to the minister of local government for even budget approval.
In a country that is getting more sophisticated, because we are getting more sophisticated, systems become critical. Systems, and the systems I'm talking about are exactly the systems that comprise that representative democracy become important, and we have to keep perfecting them over time. We have to develop instruments of governance that make sure that as many citizens as possible are polled, and therefore their opinion, when the governor speaks in any forum, he's representing, through the systems that we have created, the most representative position of his or her county.
The hopes of improved delivery of services and equitable distribution of resources across counties informed the decision to vote for the concept of devolution. However, the success of such economic units is dependent on a county's strategic planning and proper governance devoid of outside influence.
Time for the break now, but when we return, we tell you how the challenges of Water Hyacinth have been turned into opportunities and also unlocking the tourism potential in Nyanza province. Also, the Investor's Diary, and when we return, stay with KTN Business Weekly.
The KCB Weka Weka Upate Eka na 2 Mili promotion came to a close last week with Kennedy Kioko Yenge emerging the overall winner of a 1-acre piece of land in Kitengela valued at 3.2 million shillings plus 2 million shillings that was on offer. Yenge, who operates a KCB Mapato account, was declared the grand draw winner alongside business current account holder Chesiki Water Supplies Limited that won a pickup truck worth 2 million shillings. Zipora Wanguhu, who holds a KCB Jinue account, pocketed 2 million shillings in the savings mobilization exercise that began in September 2011.
It has meant an impact. It's a big change in my life because my dreams have come true. Yeah, because I was struggling with construction somewhere. I was constructing a house. And I was thinking of getting a loan, but finally my dreams have come true because I can see now it will go up to completion.
In the promotion, KCB has targeted its personal, SME and micro banking customers with a 17.3 million shillings pot, offering customers an equal chance of winning by depositing and growing their account values. During the 3-month initiative, 8 other KCB customers were rewarded 1 million shillings each in 4 mini draws. According to Peter Kimondo, KCB Group Chief Business Officer in charge of Kenya, the bank was able to attract more than 4.5 billion shillings in deposits.
The essence, of course, was that before we had done a similar campaign for where somebody was to win an acre. But then later on we realized that the acre is not enough. You need also to give the person a bit of a boost so that they can be able to construct a house or start working with the acre. So that's why we came with the Weka Weka, na acre, na ushinde 2 mili. Yeah.
KCB, that is the region's largest bank by assets and branch network, aims to grow its market share in the mass market categories through flexible and innovative products and services. These include the Jinue account, Bankika Personal and Boresha Biashara, and Bankika Business accounts for the micro-banking segment that are designed for flexibility in the day-to-day transaction management for small-scale businesses. In addressing customer needs in this segment, KCB has recently launched new products such as the Tuungane Loan ya Chama and Tuungane Loan ya Vijana that are specifically tailored for small micro businesses. Others are SME Privilege, SME Business, SME Investment and SME Entrepreneur accounts.
KCB has been a partner in the progress of this country, and because they really help the small scale business people, what we call SMEs and so on, and they are partners with the government in enhancing the economic status of those low caliber business people.
Through the Weka Weka Upate Eka na 2 Mili promotion, KCB recorded over 150 new accounts and followed on the Mkopo kwa Wote Loans Finance initiative earlier this year. This is credited with the growth of KCB's customer base that stands at around 1.8 million, with the SME and micro enterprise customers accounting for about 400,000 accounts with a lending portfolio of over 15 billion shillings.
The other thing I would really want to encourage them that when they hear something about banking or something, a microfinance or something, they involve themselves because it is them who will benefit from it. People should continue banking and continue saving because finally they will get where I am today.
With an ever-increasing middle class, Kenya is said to lack adequate incentives to boost investments and savings in the country. KCB now aims to tap into this potential through innovations such as the KCB Mtaani agent banking platform that was launched in March this year. Customers are now able to deposit and withdraw cash at over 1,800 locations, gaining from short distances and extended banking hours.
Every year, between the months of December and May, Lake Victoria in the Kenyan waters, as we know it, comes to a virtual standstill. This owing to just one plant that you know very well by now, the hyacinth. This means that thousands of fishermen who solely depend on these waters for their livelihoods have to find alternative means. The same applies to dozens of fish which takes our export goods to Uganda and Tanzania, cannot access our ports, or of course cannot move away. This really does impede on the economy of this region. So where does the solution lie? The usually busy Dunga Beach in Kisumu is everything but busy this time of the year. Dozens of women who line the shores waiting for the day's catch are replaced by trickles, wait for hours for the little that the tired fishermen have salvaged from the lake. Currently, the fishing industry across East Africa loses an estimated 6 billion shillings annually because of hyacinth. Rudolf Matthias, a manager at Kiboko Bay Resort in Kisumu, is a witness to the level of damage the weed has caused.
A lot of the major occupation in this area, it's fishing. The hyacinth actually dries up the fishing activity. It takes over the water mass. The fishermen cannot go out and fish for high value fish like tilapia. What they will find is mudfish and lungfish, which a few locals eat but does not really have values in hotels or wherever in commercial businesses regarding food industry. The hyacinth actually has stopped the lake commerce. One major attraction along the lake is the small boats which take people into the mangrove forest. The tourists who are taken and shown the beauty of the lake, the birds, the reptiles around here. A great ecosystem exists in this lake. But with the hyacinth, people who operate the boats, they cannot ply their boats. Tourists do not come here because they realize, if you go, you will see just miles of hyacinth and nothing there. So that was why it was.
Back in Dunga Beach, Okoth Ominde, a manager at a fishing capacity building group, tells us of other negative depleting effects that have been rendered on the lake.
If you look at the color of the water right now, it's not very clear, it's not bluish as it's supposed to be. There are a lot of solid residues on the lake and that's affecting the color. So that pollution is affecting the amount of fish don't breed properly and things to do with that. Then also there's been a lot of pressure on the lake. People around here, all of them rely on fishing. Kids go to school, some even go to the extent of going to the university. After leaving campuses, there are no jobs. The only job that is available is in the fishing industry. So people come back into the lake and go fishing. So due to that pressure, that increased pressure on the lake has made the catches has reduced greatly.
But according to both, innovation is the way out of the current predicament if businesses along the lake are to survive. Okoth and his group have sourced capital worth 3 million shillings to start a project, the first of its kind in sub-Saharan Africa, that's already rendering the hyacinth toothless.
People are starting to now trying to rear their own fish using the fish ponds. We did some research about this in the internet, where it was being done, the kind of methods that they were using, the kind of material they were using. Currently we have 10 cages. Each of these cages can hold 3,000 fish, growing up to a maturity of 800 grams or even 1 kilogram. But we stock them with 3,000 fish, but we expect that by the time we are harvesting, we'll be harvesting about 2,500 from every cage. So at 800 grams from these 10 cages, we expect about 2 tons of fish.
At the Kiboko Bay Resort, value addition of the hotel is keeping them afloat.
The kind of facilities we are doing at Kiboko Bay Resort, it is appreciated by people who stay with us. But look at the whole of Kisumu or this area. We are the only one who are doing something like this. And you can't actually thrive in isolation. It's not about monopoly. We have only 10 rooms here. If more people were doing what we are doing, then this becomes a destination.
Now, you might be forgiven if you assume that I'm coming to you from a very exotic Western European coastal city, or even in the US, a place like Miami. What with the lush green grass, the fantastic waters. We're talking about a very sandy beach, and even to top it all, we have this magnificent jetty just to my side. But forget about all those destinations. I'm coming to you from southern Nyanza, the other side of Lake Victoria, where the case is very different from what you just saw in Kisumu. This is Rusinga Island, part of Mbita constituency. Well, what's the difference? Take a look at this. If the growing success of fishing and tourism in South Nyanza is anything to go by, then hoteliers and fishermen in Kisumu have everything to look forward to. Kirsty Sutherland has been running the luxurious Rusinga Island resort for the last 6 years and has no regrets.
When I first came here, I came here for 4 days. So my expectations were just to stay here for 4 days and return to my office in Nairobi. But obviously something happened in the 4 days that I was here, and yeah, I fell in love with it, with the area, with the people, and just this beautiful, you can see this beautiful setting. There's huge potential for Lake Victoria. It's still massively untapped. There's room for more lodges, definitely. There's rooms for different styles of lodges. There's also rooms for, like they do in the coast, to have self-catering homestays. There's some beautiful islands here, there's beautiful areas all over the lake. It would be great for families to be able to come and rent a house for a week and come and stay here, maybe have access to a boat. That's another way of coming here also.
Despite the huge success in comparison to Kisumu, Mbita and its environs are however yet to maximize on the potential that belies its shores and waters.
In the market report, inflation for the month of November rose to 19.72% from 18.91% in October, driven by higher food and fuel prices. The 91-day Treasury bill is attracting interest at a higher rate of 16.85% from 16.60% last week. The 182-day and 364-day papers are pegged at 16.54% and 16.61% respectively. The average bank lending rate as at the end of October stood at a higher 14.87%, while the average bank savings rate at the end of the same period dropped to 1.33%. At the Nairobi Securities Exchange, there are 5 stocks currently trading with dividends, and are still the same, with yields ranging from 0.57% at Kenya Power to 6.75% at Unga Group. Other stocks that will give you a dividend if you bought before books close on the shown dates are City Trust, Kengen, and East African Portland Cement Company. That's all. That's all we had time for this Wednesday. Let's do it again next week. Remember that you can send in your comments or questions to the email address ktnbizweekly@standardmedia.co.ke or text it to the number 8041. And as we come to the end of the year, we're taking your recommendations about which features we should play again, or entrepreneur who you would like us to invite into studio. For myself and the entire team, thank you for watching. I'm Michael Oyer. Good night.
Business Weekly, brought to you by KCB. KCB, making the difference.